Mail everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. Thank you so much for listening to my video. I do have an ask before I talk about the Chinese stocks, which I do want to talk about because I think I'm seeing some pretty interesting here. I have some perspective to share. But I have an X account formerly known as Twitter, and I have about 17,000 followers there. I just want to say that I might have overdone it a little bit in terms of posting and likes for the last 24 hours. And currently, I think if you're not a follower of mine over there, even if you search for my account, you won't find it. I think I've been possibly, let's just say that my account is being limited. And also, if you are following me, you're not able to search my post either. So I just wanted to know if you're following me over there. I probably won't be posting there for a few days. I'm gonna wait for the algorithm to kind of reset just in case if they think that I'm a bot. Even though I just post like charts nonstop and I just liked a lot of posts, that's kind of what I do. So don't worry. Like I'm not planning on like leaving or anything like that. I just want you to know. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm gonna go to the Chinese charts here. First of all, I'm going to start with the Hang Seng Index. There are a lot of these composites from China in terms of indexes. The one that really matters the most is the Hang Seng Ji. So the reason why it matters most is because pretty much all the big Chinese companies, they're going to list public in Hong Kong, which is going to be with Hang Seng. And this probably reflects most for the overall how Chinese market is doing. I also want to say that I'm not here to talk about geopolitics. I'm not here to talk about politics at all. I personally don't care one way or another. I'm just here to show you charts, to show you what I think, to show you whether or not in the short term, medium term, long term, what we're looking at here. This is the Hang Seng Index monthly chart. And you can see that this is the Ichimoku cloud. I mean, we're still way underneath the Ichimoku cloud here on the monthly, right? But there are some potentially bullish development that's happening. First of all, it's forming potentially a little bit more like an Adam and Eve look to it, which generally is a pretty decent potential double bottom type behavior, right? The interesting thing is I think whenever it gets to the neckline of this Adam and Eve double bottom is actually around right at the Ichimoku cloud here. So I wonder whether or not you're going to end up having a lot of resistance and trying to have a hard time kind of break above before breaking above, right? But even right now, we're hitting some pretty important resistance. With the Ichimoku cloud, it gives you two lines over here in addition to the cloud. It gives you the Tenkan line, which is the blue line, and it also gives you the red line, which is the Kijun. The Kijun is a little bit of a lagging line. It's also called baseline. The Tenkan line is the blue line. It's called the conversion line as well. It's a little bit faster. So in order for a bull market to really start, you really need to reclaim the blue line, the Tenkan, from resistance to support before price can push up a lot higher, right? You need to reclaim it from resistance to support, right? Before pricing go a lot higher. Right now, we had a little bit of a fail support over here, and it fell down a lot lower, right? But we're trying again. We're trying. I think we got a little bit rejected over here around January 2023, getting close to the baseline, but didn't quite get through. Right now, we are re-challenging the baseline, so we're getting rejected for 2 months in a row. But so far, it's kind of stuck in range over here. With Tenkan underneath of it, there's a potential for it to kind of back test the Tenkan, and Tenkan is going to be around like 17,200 or something like that. There's a potential for it to push above and then back test the Tenkan down here. And when it back tests the Tenkan down here, I suspect it's probably in pretty decent support for it to kind of go higher. And because right now, objectively, it made a little bit of a higher low, and that hasn't really happened considering for quite some time, right? So we would like to see how it ranges over here, what it does. But overall, if you look at a lower time frame, there are a couple of things that are maybe looking a little bit more interesting. For example, you look at the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, you can see that it got rejected here at the bottom of the cloud, right? Came back down. What is it doing? It's trying to find support over here. It's trying to form a little bit of a bull flag. It's trying to find support. It's trying to find a little bit of higher low compared to over here. So right now it's finding some support here at around the Tenkan, which again 17,500, somewhere around there. So we'll see whether or not we're able to find support down here. But I like the fact that it's challenging Ichimoku cloud because it really just hasn't done that on the 2-week Ichimoku cloud for like forever, right? So I like the fact that it's challenging it. On the weekly, it looks better. On the weekly, it really tells you what it's really doing, because it's basically breaking inside the cloud, got rejected at the top of the cloud, and then came back. Guess where it's trying to find support right now? It's finding support at the bottom of the cloud. So it means that we don't necessarily have to go down a lot further. This could be it. You might just be finding support over here, or it could potentially go down a lot lower, back to around 17,200s, right? Or it can end up going back over here, maybe back test the bottom of the cloud over here around 17,200, confluent with the kitchen line or the baseline over here before it goes up higher. Cloud could serve as support. Kinjin, or the red line over here, can serve support. So I think it's a pretty interesting configuration in terms of what it's doing. Like this really hasn't happened for quite some time. You try to break above the cloud. Initially you thought, hey, testing above the cloud, bounce, right? Got rejected, bounce again, got rejected, eventually fell under. But so far we're potentially looking at something here that could potentially be a little bit of a trend change, because now we have a little bit of a higher low over here compared to over here. So the bounce right here may be a little bit more sustainable. We'll see. Right. Now, I do want to talk about another, specific sector. If you're talking about the Chinese stock, where would it be maybe a little bit hotter? I'd be maybe a little bit more worried about like the financials, industrials, and all that, right? I'm more maybe interested in tech and all that. Now, again, I'm not talking about any, geopolitical concerns. I'm not talking about what is right, what is wrong. I'm just following the charts over here. Like, as far as I'm concerned, if one is to look for exposure in the Chinese stock market, which a lot of people really are not doing that anymore, but if you are, I do think that the more bullish look to it is going to be around the tech sector, around the internet sector, which is going to be the best ETF that represents it would be the Crane Shares, CSI China Internet, the KWEB, basically, right? What is it doing right now? It had a bullish cross back in April 2024 on the monthly chart, right? This is something that's significant. And guess what happened? It tried to break above, and it's trying to come back down here, trying to serve as support, right? Test the support down here. So far, the tank in the blue line has failed to serve as support, and look like we got the kitchen right underneath of there. There's a potential for it to potentially back test there a little bit. But overall, what is it doing right now? It's looking like this is a higher low. Sorry, this is a higher low compared to the low over here, right? And also this wick over here is a higher high compared to this high over here. So far, we might be trying to establish a little bit of a higher low before going up higher, to trying to challenge perhaps the Ichimoku cloud up here above over the next 12 to 18 months, right? So we'll see what happens, but we don't have that bullish cross here on the monthly on the Hang Seng, but we do have that here on KWEB. So some of the KWEB stocks, everybody's going to look into BABA, right? Actually, before I do that, I just want to show you, like, on the weekly, it doesn't look as good. Actually, it's very interesting. On weekly, it looks like we overshot the Ichimoku cloud, and then when it broke down underneath, we like overshot there here as well. Whereas the Hang Seng actually has been finding pretty good support. So there's some argument in terms of short term. Maybe the Chinese internet stocks may not be the best play here. Maybe the overall Chinese market actually look a little bit better. But maybe it's just kind of overshot on the high, and then it overshot on the low. Like, it doesn't bother me as much, right? But the problem is, I'm just going to stick with the monthly chart here as I talk about the other stocks. When you talk about Chinese internet stocks and tech stock, what do you think about? You think about Alibaba. Alibaba actually is looking weaker than the overall KWEB. It hasn't had the bullish cross, and the Tenkan continues to serve as resistance, right? It rejected BABA this month for the month of June, right? It does have that same Adam Eve formation to it, but there's a lot of lack of confirmation here so far. I like the fact it's forming like a very nice, hammer candle over here, maybe a little bit hammerish candle over here. These are some pretty nice formations, but I still need confirmation, right? BABA is actually lagging behind a lot of these Chinese internet stocks. What about JD? JD monthly chart, well, it was looking pretty decent so far, except for this big giant inverted hammer candle. You can also call it a shooting star. Generally, these are pretty toppy candle. And sure enough, the month of June, you have a big, correction down underneath of that. But it still hasn't really engulfed all these bullishness over here. And one consideration is maybe it's just trying to find a little bit of a higher low here before going up higher, right? I was initially hoping JD would be able to find support at this volume shelf over here, but it just wasn't really able to. It just plummeted all the way down. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but, so far, it's good that it's trying, but look at how far the Tenkan Kishin is compared to BABA, right? Look at how far the Tenkan Kishin is compared to KWEB. So JD is still lagging a lot of momentum, and it has probably a lot of resistance up above to try and push through, right? The good thing about JD is the resistance is really far above. So let's say, for example, if you're able to break above this volume shelf over here for real, around like $30 for real, and instead of getting a big giant wick over here, look at the volume shelf, there's a real possibility it just goes all the way from like 30 to 40 in a hurry to this horizontal zone right there, right? That is entirely a possible scenario, even though when it gets up there, there's going to be still a lot of resistance, and it's probably going to have a hard time really breaking through it in a short term. Probably needs months and months and months for it to kind of break back above. But going from like $30 to like $40, that's nothing to sneeze at, right? So if JD and Baba doesn't look good, what looks good? Tencent looks good. Tencent actually looks pretty decent because it had the bullish cross over here back in April as well. And so far, we've just been basically getting rejected over here at this very important horizontal zone, with a very nice Adam and Eve type looking pattern to it, right at a big volume shelf support over here. The volume shelf resistance over here. Could it go down here, back a little bit lower to test some of the lower levels down here before bouncing up higher? Sure, that's a possibility. But I like the fact that this is actually looking a little bit more bullish compared to the others, and also like the fact that it just had a bullish cross, right? But you have to take into consideration we are at resistance, so there's going to be a risk for it to kind of potentially go from like $47, going to like maybe 44, even 43, or even down here to 42, where the Tenkan is located, and it's also not out of the imagination for it to go down to 38, right? So there are a lot of support underneath, so I think that we're at resistance. The further down it goes, the probably the better risk reward ratio you have in terms of Tencent. TCEHY. This is probably the only over the counter stock that I've ever covered, but it looks good. What also looks really good? Is Pinduoduo PDD, and it just basically is forming cup and handle after cup and handle, right? And you have a bullish crossover back in July of 2023, and since then it's just been making nothing but higher highs and higher lows. And right now it just looks like it's just formed a little bit of a nice cup over here for this big giant cup over here. So this is a handle for being a big cup over here. I'm going to show you the weekly chart here a little bit too, but it's not out of the imagination that you're going to get strong resistance over here because of big volume shelf over here, because price has spent months and months previously at this level, right? But you're at support. You see what I mean by on a bull market, Tenkan service support just keep pushing price higher. That's exactly what it's doing here on the monthly. On the weekly, I'm going to show you a little bit more of a clear picture here. You had a breakout. You really have kind of like a little bit of a breakout over here of this handle. And it looks like it's just kind of trying to back test it a little bit here, right? Could it go a lot lower? Sure, it can go down here even lower to like the 125 zone, or maybe even lower to test the top of the cloud. And that would not be a bearish thing. It would just, you just not be happy with buyer. It just keeps going down short term. But there's no guarantee it's going to go down. That's the only thing. There's never any guarantee that it's going to go down. Overall, it's a pretty decent bullish looking structure, both in terms of the formation, both in terms of Ichimoku cloud, and it's looking pretty decent right now. It's, for short term, it's underneath the Tenkan and Kijun here on the weekly. So yeah, potentially could go down a little bit further, but like it's still a pretty bullish formation. Like I don't know if I can say otherwise, objectively. And if you don't know, Pinduoduo, they own TMU. That's a pretty big company. A lot of people have been really trying to buy a lot of things on there, and they're basically utilizing like cheap shipping to try to ship a lot of really cheap goods overseas, including to the U.S. Like this company has been doing well from that. Now, I don't know whether or not there's going to be any like potential regulations or anything like that that's going to come, and that could change and buck the trend, right? But so far the trend is very, very bullish. I cannot really comment fundamentals. I think I have some comments basically expressing that they're concerned about the fundamentals of this company. That could entirely be true. I'm just saying, I'm just showing you the formation. I'm just showing you how bullish it looks. And personally, I'm probably not going to end up investing in this company. I just, if I have to pick one Chinese stock, and I don't necessarily want to because I'm trying to consolidate my portfolio to make it more US centric. But if I do have to pick one Chinese stock, you know what I would pick? I would pick FUTU. One of the big reasons to why I pick FUTU is in terms of just the thoughts of the fundamental. Like I hate people saying, "Oh, this is like the Amazon of Africa. This is like the the Microsoft of I don't know. Like I hate to say this, but this is really very similar to like the Robin Hood in Asia. there's a lot of people in Asia that use this app, and there's a lot of real utility to it, especially if the U.S. stock market heats up. Like there are a lot of people who end up trading on FUTU on a lot of the U.S. stocks that are available for them to trade over in Asia. If that's the case, I think the revenue is going to do pretty darn well. What does it look like to you? It looks like an ascending triangle with a breakout and backtest so far. Like I can show you this on a weekly chart and see that it's a lot more apparent. It looks like an ascending triangle with a breakout and a backtest. That's what it looks like. How far down is the backtest going to go? It could go down to like 62, right? Which is going to be right around the where the kitchen is located, 62, 63. It can go down even lower to like 61 or 60 at this volume shelf over here. It could potentially go down that further, and guess what? It would still be a bullish formation because it would just be a higher low. It'd be a breakout of this formation for backtest. Now, could it break down further going down back here to test the trend line? It certainly can. Can it break down all the way down because of any weird fundamentals that could be happening? Things that are unforeseen, and it breaks all the way down to like the volume shell over here in like $41. It certainly can, right? It's just not likely because it's been forming a higher high and higher low. It's broke above the weekly Ichimoku cloud, and on the monthly Ichimoku cloud, it had a bullish cross over here around November 2023. And so far, it just went a little bit too far extended from the Tenkan, and it's just basically back testing it down here, getting close to it for the month of June, right? So far, it still looks like a pretty decent setup. So if I have to pick a Chinese stock, I think this might be it, although I'm not necessarily thinking I'm going to enter it. But I would be very tempted if price gets down to like 60 or 61 or even $62. I would be tempted from a technical standpoint as a trade, right? What is not bullish in the Chinese stock market? There are two stocks that are not bullish. One is NIO. You would thought that this was a very nice bottom hammer candle over here, just like how it was very nice bottom hammer candle over here, just like how it was a very nice bottom hammer candle over here, just like there's like a couple of really nice bottom hammer candles over here, right? But these bottom hammer candles, they may not necessarily work out. You have a lot of resistance they're kind of pushing down, right? And you can see that with the Tengen and Kijun. Like Tengen is just slipping all the way down. There's no reason to think it's flattening or anything like that. It didn't even really challenge it for a very long time. It challenged it back in like September 2022, got rejected, right? Challenged it in July 2023, got everybody excited, got rejected, right? And then so far, where's price now? If you were bought this high up here around $15, where the price at right now is around $4, right? It's hard because the trend is not your friend if you're a bull. You still have a lot of Tenkan resistance above, so I would still be a little bit hesitant to try to catch this falling knife. It just still doesn't look good so far. And the 20, like if I turn off the Ichimoku cloud, I'm going to look at a Bollinger Band. Like the 20-month moving average, yeah, it's flattening a little bit maybe, but it looks like it's still on a point down. And the Bollinger Band is expanding, which means that there might be even further room for it to go down. This is still a falling knife. There's no guarantee. I mentioned it before. There's no guarantee that this hammer bottom looking candle, even though it looks like a very, very, very beautiful hammer bottom, just like it did over here, it may not necessarily work out. And it's not fun to talk about. And I want NIO holders to do well. I want to talk bullish on NIO, but I just cannot. And it's unfortunate. There's another stock too that I think objectively look better than NIO, which is XPEV, Xpeng Xiaopeng. It's very, very nicely flattening with the 20-month moving average. And it looks like there's a little bit more of a bottom formation compared to what NIO is doing, right? NIO just looks like it just wants to go straight down, whereas XPEV actually looks very, very much like trying to form a little bit more like a double bottom formation over here. Although it can still get rejected here at the 20-month moving average, but I like the fact that it's pointing flatter and flatter. And I like the fact that you might have a little bit of a chance to kind of break out potentially back doesn't go higher. This looks better in all objective sense, right? If you look at the Ichimoku cloud, you can also see that it looks like the Tenkan got flattened here. You're still going to get some resistance over here, don't get me wrong, right? Just like you're going to get some resistance here at 20-month moving average, don't get me wrong. But it's just looking a little bit better. I still probably won't enter this stock because I'm not like, a trader or anything. But look at how nice this hammer bottom is, right? If you bought this hammer bottom thinking that you're going to do well moving up higher, you would have felt very, very sad for the month of June. but it looks a little bit better than NEO. Anyway, I just want to mention now that we're talking about all these stocks here, like, and I was also trying to talk about how the Hang Seng has been doing a little bit better over time. Like the question is Chinese liquidity entering these stocks to the point that we're able to actually start to buck the downtrend, if you will? I mean, is this the start of something beginning of them be a little bit of a higher move for Chinese stocks maybe over the next 12 to 18 months? I think so. Am I an investor, a long-term investor? You're talking about 3 to 5 years of the Chinese stock market? No. I mean, like, I just can't really buy into this. This is the Hang Seng and how it's been doing really, like, since 1997. It really has just gone sideways. You know what happened in 1997? You know, the Hong Kong handover from the British to the Chinese government, right? It's just been going sideways ever since. It's really unfortunate. And I think really after President Trump imposed the tariffs and things like that, the Chinese stock market really just hasn't been doing very well at all. Like you were talking about like 2018, like, you know, around here, like it really just been a downtrend for them ever since then. You also have a lot of like debt crises. There are also a lot of things that are really worrisome. But I do think that there's probably enough liquidity for you to pump the Chinese stock market up probably a lot higher over the next 12 to 18 months. So it could be a good trade. I just am not convinced about the long-term prospects of the Chinese economy and their stock market quite just yet. But with that said, you know that, you know, what I think that there's a potential for you to kind of turn around. You know what I was thinking, if they're also, I also want to show you like the EMA ribbon, like the 20 and 50 ribbon on the monthly. Yeah, it looks like it's hitting some resistance there. And the ribbon is still pretty thick, so it's a little bit, you know, more cautious. But if you look at a weekly chart, the weekly chart here looks a little bit better. You know, you look at the EMA ribbon, which is basically the 20 week is down here, and the 50 week EMA is up here, and it forms a nice ribbon, right? Whenever it becomes purple, if it becomes green, that's when you start to have a bull trend. It looks like we might be potentially starting to have a little bit of bull trend here. There was a little bit of a buy signal over here per Turtle Pro. And it is looking like it wants to do something positive here. So we'll see. I just want to show you that because I want to show you what it means for a stock that we all are very interested in, which is a stock called Tesla. If Chinese stock market does well, I have and if there's an increase in Chinese liquidity, and if there's going to be actually having some money staying inside China for their investment, I have a hard time being too bearish on Tesla. I just have a hard time being too bearish on Tesla. And Tesla has been making some pretty nice strides because if you watch my friend Matt Hughes 13 on X, or the great Matsby on X on X, he also has a YouTube channel too, TGM Trading. If you watch his video on Tesla, and he does a Tesla weekly update, and I love his stuff. And I was the one who kind of introduced him to the idea. It reclaimed the bull market support band for this week, and it ended up closing way above of it. Are we at resistance at 200? Yes, we are, right? But the simple fact that it's been trying to form this head and shoulder pattern, I think we're probably going to end up getting rejected over here. I don't think we're going to pass by it next week or anything like that. I think it's probably going to end up getting rejected over here and come back maybe to around like 186 or so. Trying to find some support before going up. You have a little bit of Tenkan and Kishin trying to get a little bit closer together. You don't quite have the weekly bullish cross quite just yet, but so far price end up closing above the Tenkan and Kishin. So I do think most likely it's going to end up coming back down to back test some of the stuff, and it might be coming back down to maybe like the 185 to 188 range, somewhere around here, before going up higher and challenging the cloud over here, which is going to be another strong resistance level around 220. But it's just the fact that Tesla is looking better, and it's very interesting to think about the confluence, right? Like, it looks like it also wants to challenge the weekly EMA ribbon, and it looks like it's not unreasonable for it to get rejected right here, right? I mean, this is really the first step over here of the ribbon. the second stab over here after Ribbon getting rejected. It's not the end of the world. I like the fact that it's trying, right? And also, if you also want to talk about whalish momentum on Tesla, I'm going to bring up the MCDX Plus indicator over here. You can see that whales are slowly coming in. There's a little bit of a change over here, right? Going back to a lot of the other Chinese stocks. Sorry, I said I was going to keep this video short, but there's a lot of things I want to talk about. Hang Seng, what is it doing? Yeah, increased whale, a little bit cool down, but overall it's still a lot higher than it was for months, right? What is KWEB doing? Yeah, increased whales, really significantly cool down, but this still looks like it's been doing very well compared to the last months, right? Baba, no whales. JD, whales are gone. What about Tencent? Tons of whales. Pinduoduo PDD, the whale's still there. FUTU, whale's still there. Neil, no whales, all retail. XPEV, no whales, all retail. Is any of these things surprising to you? No. It shouldn't be. But again, going back to Tesla here on the weekly, increased whale, right? This can change at any time, by the way. We are hitting some pretty important resistance up here that can change at any time, by the way. But so far, it looks like we might be experiencing maybe a little bit of a higher high over here compared to over here. Just a little bit of a higher high compared to over here, right? So you're talking about some like micro changes that are starting to look a little bit better for Tesla. You're starting to look at the 2-week chart over here. You know, I think it's probably end up hitting like around 220 or so after it breaks out about the zone, but this zone might take another couple of weeks to kind of break above. And then after that, I think 220 is going to be a pretty strong resistance level over here. This is going to take some time to get going, but I like the fact that it's starting to show some bullish sign. I like the fact that it's reclaiming the Tenkan over here as support to potentially push this up a lot higher. On the monthly, it still doesn't look that great. You're still going to hit some resistance up here. Guess what? Ball on the cloud over here is around 115 or so, 114 or so. You're going to have some resistance up here. You don't quite have the bullish cross over here, and price currently underneath both the Tenkan and Kijun. But I still don't think that we're that bearish compared to how things were around here, around like late 2019. Whales are still in here on the monthly chart. It's still like 65, 66%. Like they never really left, right? So I can't really be like too bullish in terms of short term, but in the long term I really also can't really be that bearish either, right? So it's just something to think about. I think there's a lot of confluence, a lot of indication. I think Tesla unfortunately is tied to China, but I think China's economy may be starting to get a little bit more support from the money printing that's over there. Maybe I'm seeing some positive signs over here that makes me think that maybe Tesla is going to do okay moving forward. And guess what? If they continue to print money, you know where the money is going to end up going to? Bitcoin. I'm done talking. Have a good one. Bye-bye.